Terrible when it happens like that. Terrible. Sorry, Sue. Terrible. Hey, Juan. Come on in, man. Good to see you, Juan. Hey, Juan, sorry to hear about your dad passing away. Good buddy with you?
That's my brother.
I'm Bill.
Elson.
What is it?
Elson.
Elson?
Yep.
Good seeing you, bud. Welcome. Come on in.
Nice to see you.
How do you spell that? E-L-S?
E-L-S-O-N.
Elson. Very good. Juan, good to see you, bud. All right, let's jump in. Just want to remember that. Elson. And Nelson is Elson with an N.
See, you always have a different way of looking at it. That's what I love about you.
So, Elson, I'm sorry about your dad, too, then. Jeez. Rough stuff, man.
It is.
All right, guys, we're going to get started. Hey, Dave. All right. Yeah, sit as close as you can. I appreciate that, too. All right, good to see you, Elizabeth. Good to see you. Big day?
Yes.
Okay.
One second. I smelled something, but it's not.
That's my daughter. Couple, and not just some person smelling me. Although it is, but it's my daughter. A couple cool quotes. We are too prone to engrave our trials in marble and write our blessings in sand. Isn't that a great truth? Here's my trials in marble forever. And we write our blessings in the sand, which we just kind of fairly forget with the tide. Charles Spurgeon said that. Another great quote as we get started. It's strange to me how often I'm tempted to trust God with my eternity, but not today. Isn't that something? I love that.
Who said that?
Oh, sorry. There you go. That was some other person. Ian Simpkins. Not familiar with him. I gotta always make sure I'm coinciding here with the screen, so please remind me if I'm reading something that's not up there. Another cool one, just remember all of this is temporary. That's an incredible reminder that in 50 years, most of us here will have been gone a long time, and we'll be in heaven in glory, all at the great feast of our Savior. And then some will still be here, like Elizabeth will be 70, Jacob. Just kind of neat to think all this is temporary. Make the most of it, but also remember that this is not all there is. There's much, much more. And I love this one too. Stay in the Spirit, because the enemy, the darkness, wants you to react in the flesh. You know, the enemy, which we'll call Satan, or just our own self, we want to react in the flesh, angry, from our pride and from being offended and from our tiredness. We are to stay in the Spirit, because we are mostly spirit with this little bit of flesh and body that go along with us. Remember, the body was never meant to be weighing us down. We are to be living kind of in the Spirit. Does that make sense? How is another way of putting that? Another way of putting that, you think? Living in the Spirit. What's that? Yeah, living in God's glory. You know, Christ, I think, if we want to see him as our great example, he lived in the Spirit while he was here in the flesh. He lived in the Spirit while he was here in the flesh. He was patient. He was bold. He was courageous. He was in prayer a lot. So that's a great reminder of where we should be. So here's some questions for you. What are some of, I put men's because I was using this for the men's class, but what are some of people's biggest sources of contentment? Like, what do we think we need that without which we would be lost? What do you think are some? What are some of our biggest things that we really think we need, or we would just not be well? Dave, our phone. Who doesn't check to make sure that square is in our pocket? Because without it, it's our phone numbers, our contact, our 911, our pictures, our text, our Facebook. That's a great one. We just don't think we can do without it. But isn't it a blessing when you forget it and you're without it for like a few hours? It's almost like a relief. I don't have to check it. You know, it's really, I think, kind of a blessing. Good one, Dave. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, the money, man. You know, you can say, oh, I don't care about money. It's what money gets us. It gets us our heat. It gets us a car, our gas, our treats. But boy, if we put our trust in these things, that's where things start to fall apart. If you put your trust in our phone and what's available there, if we put our trust in the bank account, that's when things start to really crumble and you get distracted by it, right? And it almost obviously becomes just our God, doesn't it? I check that bank account. I want plenty. I mean, I do. I want plenty. And I want to give a lot of it away. I don't want to be the ones in need. I want to be the ones to be generous with it, right? But that's a fear. That could be a fear of mine, is I want to be the one who's generous and have plenty. I don't want to be in need. But I better not make that my idol, right? Because God's going to flip it, and then I'll learn to trust God more, right? All right. So that's kind of part of the lesson we're going to be talking about today is John 4:4. I'm coming back to this because I think there's so much to learn from it. And if you're somewhat familiar with it, it's where you can turn to it if you want, John chapter 4. It's where it's an encounter with Jesus, and I think it's one of the most important ones that we have in the Bible for a lot of reasons. So in John chapter 4, verse 4, you have Jesus and his apostles trying to get to really, their goal is not Samaria, which is where they end up. The goal is what's happening after they get through Samaria. And usually the Jews would go around Samaria, even though it was a long detour, but they hated the people from Samaria. So they never even thought about going through Samaria because they hated the Samaritans and the Samaritans hated them. It would just be like going through a place where you knew you could be accosted or attacked or just bullied or whatever. But Jesus decided to go through Samaria because that's what he's here for. Remember, he's living in the Spirit. So he is here to come and seek and save and mend the loss. So it says in John 4:4, he came to a town in Samaria. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. Now the apostles have already gone off into another place to get food and supplies, and Jesus said, I'm going to stay here and rest. So he sits down by this well-known well, was Jacob's well. Jacob goes back 1,000 years. And he sits down by the well, and it was about noon. Now, I love this. Why was Jesus there? And go as deep as you want to. Why was Jesus there at that well, tired as he was? Why was Jesus at that well? Go as shallow or as deep as you want. Hey, he was thirsty. He's at the well. He was sitting because he was tired. Anything you want to go, but try to go into some other levels too. Hey, Vivian.
I think he was there because he was led by the Spirit to be there. The scripture said now he had to go through Samaria.
Isn't that enough? He had to go through Samaria. And how many of us are urged by the Spirit to do certain things, and we could choose to go through Samaria or not? And how many of us over the decades have learned to respond to the Spirit's urging and to just do it, whether it makes sense, whether it's uncomfortable? You do it, and you never regret it. You never regret going into that, like Scott says, that uncomfortable situation that the Spirit urges you to do. If you don't do it, you're really missing out on life, and you're living in the flesh, which is not going to get you very far, For Jesus, it would have gotten him the drink, but that's not all he was after. That was just a very surface reason he was there. So, like Vivian said, he was led by the Spirit to be there that day. Anyone else? Scott?
I don't know, but pure speculation.
Sure, it's just fun speculation.
He's there at noon, and again, I love noon because noon is like, it's almost like midnight, it's the bewitching hour when it comes to cowboy movie.
High noon.
High noon.
Doo-doo-doo.
There's something that's not right about that time. You know, and nobody wants to be traveling around that time. And we know something great's about to happen.
Yeah, it's in the desert. Nobody says, let's go meet in the sun
Yeah.
at noon. Good point.
Yeah.
What else were you going to say?
So to me, it's hard to speculate exactly what he's thinking, but God seems to be so precise on his intention that we could sit here for years talking about this.
Yeah, that's right.
Still not even get to the bottom of it.
Right.
But he like Vivian said, the Spirit's guiding him. This is happening at the worst time, and something. It's a chain of events because we know the Samaritan woman's coming. Oh, sorry.
No, just
Sorry.
kidding.
My bad. And we know that it's not a good time to.
Wait, there's a woman involved?
We know it's not a good time of day. So
Yeah. So something's being set up here. There's traps being set. There's opportunities. You're like Jesus is at the trap door almost, you know. And what I also love is that these encounters that are spirit-led, they've been set up for 1,000 years. You know, my dad often says I became an eye doctor 10,000 years ago because my mom was going to have severe glaucoma and I needed to be the one to catch it and treat it. You know, so these events, and you've all been involved in these things, these events were meant for you to dive into. And you can choose to or not. And why not you be the one to jump into it? Scotty.
And my final thought is, this is where God. I always think God is at the. Well, he's everywhere, but he's at the place where most people don't want to go. That's where you find God.
Yeah.
These most bizarre places. There's a blessing.
Yeah. And since Ella's in the audience, I've got to say, Ella had a move a few years ago, and I don't like helping people move. I've done it 100 times. I would avoid it. I mean, who else had a bad move? Larry DeSimone, terrible move.
Yeah.
The Johnsons, every move is horrible. But Jake and I went because, you know, there's something going to happen that's crazy. So Jake and I go to Ella's move, and Scott was there too. And Ella, it was memorable, you know, for many, many reasons. One is that who was in the back? Wayne was in the back of the truck. Just so many things. There was the mailbox. But anyway, we answered the call, and thank God we did. You know, it's helping, but it's also, you don't know what's going to happen. Dave, were you going to say something?
I think Jesus is at this well specifically because he's not supposed to be there. He goes against. I mean, I don't know.
Put as much out there as you want.
Well, he's setting his whole ministry up right here.
Yeah.
I mean, there are echoes and reverberations through this encounter that go throughout the gospel and throughout history, like you were saying. And it comes from history. In a way, he's reclaiming the well of his forefathers, which has been, risen to great importance by these other people who almost get it. And I think that's where Jesus wants us to spend our time, with people who almost get it. Like, you know?
Yeah, great point. We mentioned in other classes, everybody avoids Samaria. Who is your Samaria? You know, who are your Samaritans that you avoid? You don't even quite realize you hate them. Scott's pointing to me. But you really need to think about who are those people that you're tempted to avoid, but instead you engage with. Yeah. Like the Samaritans are these kind of half-breed Jews from 1,000 years ago when they were, you know, captive by Babylonian, and all this history back there, which we could go into for fun, but we won't right now. So I'll go even another level. Oh, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, you can have the joke, but I just want to clarify.
Nice and now, good. Go for it.
You want, but I just want to clarify.
Bring it out.
I mean, to me, he's there for the woman.
He's there for this woman.
Because, like, it talks, like, when later on, she's saying, how do you know about my husband? And he's like, well, I know you've had 5 husbands. Like, he seems very prepared on, like, this is what I'm going to discuss water. Like he went kind of almost through a sermon, like just to her. So I don't know, to me it always had felt like he was like, we got to hit it at noon because this is when she comes to get her water.
Yeah. So if you know the story, there's a woman coming. She comes to the well at noon because she's an outcast. And when Elizabeth said that Jesus was there for her, it's also saying that this woman was a disaster, and she was an outcast and she was hopeless. And if Jesus is coming for her, then of course he's coming for you, right? And I think that's a great lesson here. If he's coming for this woman, then he's certainly coming for you. And if he's coming for her, then we should be coming for her too. And that's the beauty, I think, what Dave was tying into. All right, so tired as he was. So why was the Lord there? He's God with us, right? Jesus means God with us. He is there as a human being. This is the King of Kings. He's down on earth to be with us. He's here to become tired with us. He's here to become thirsty with us. He is here to become killable, right? So Jesus is here with us to be hungry and tired and killable. So that's also why he's here. He's there at the well. He's tired, he's thirsty. That's what he was sent to become, tired and thirsty, just with us, to feel the same stuff. So as we go to the next one, John 4:13-16, I skipped a little bit because I know a lot of you are familiar with the story. We went over it a couple weeks ago. But the woman's there. They get into a discussion. She realizes he's not just a Jewish guy that she's supposed to avoid. They have this kind of a tussle. There's some friction. But Jesus answers, everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. So he's saying to us, all these things that we think will make us content, we'll never have enough of it. We're always going to need more. And he says that to her about this water. You're going to come here every day at noon as an outcast. You're always going to be lost. You're always going to need this water. He's saying, I have something to offer you that you'll never need anything else if you get my truth and if you get my salvation. So he says, everyone who drinks the water that I offer everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks this everlasting, this spiritual water that I give them, that's going to become in them a spring of water welling up to eternal life. So she's intrigued, of course, right? The woman says to him, Sir, give me this water so that I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water. Right? She doesn't really know exactly what he's talking about, but she does say, give me this water so I'll never have to come here again. So I'm going to keep your mental place here, okay, as to why he answers with this. She says, give me this water. If it was me, I would say, now's my time to tell the gospel message, right? Sir, give me this water. And Jesus tells her, go back and call your husband. Why would he say that? Why would he stop this great progression into now the gospel message? So think about why he would say that for a moment, okay? So Jesus right here, what is Jesus saying to this outcast or to us? Because we are certainly each an outcast and we're lost without him, right? We were created to be with God. So when we are not with God, we are just something absurd. If we're not with our Creator, with salvation through Jesus, we are living some absurd, odd, chaotic life. Is that true or not true? It's pretty true. And we've lived it and we've seen it when somebody lives outside of the purpose which we were actually made for. Okay, what is Jesus saying to this outcast? I've got something for you that is as basic and necessary to you spiritually as water is to you physically. Something without which you are absolutely lost. That's what he's saying to her, and it's what he's saying to us. So jumping into our lives, what will make you happy? what will really give you a satisfying life? And we've said some of these things. Our technology, which kind of helps us, like almost like running on Dunkin', you know. What's the phrase Dunkin' Donuts says? What's that?
America runs on Dunkin'.
America runs on Dunkin'. So, I mean, that is kind of this mouse, this gerbil wheel that we're into is, well, I do need my Dunkin' coffee every morning. Yes, God has this every Wednesday. He treats himself to this soda every Wednesday. Is that true, Scott?
It's a Panera Bread or what?
Yeah, so Scott gets this little treat.
Scott runs on Panera Bread.
So we do have these certain things that we think we run on and without which we would just collapse, right? And whatever those things are, I recommend you put it on the altar to God and just burn it up, right? Use it, enjoy it, be grateful for it, but don't think you run on it, right? I found myself saying that that's what you say, Dave, a lot when you're teaching, right?
Yes.
I like that. It's captivating. So what will really give you a satisfying life? Okay, let's keep jumping here. Okay, so Jesus is saying that there's nothing outside of you that can truly satisfy the thirst that is deep down inside you. And I love how it's put this way. You need water. This woman needs water. You need water. I need water that comes from even deeper down inside you than the thirst itself, right? And Jesus is saying, I can give that to you. And there's nowhere else you're ever going to get it. So whatever that thirst is you have, this desire, wanting satisfaction, contentment, what will actually make me feel worthy? Jesus is saying that need is deeper down than the thirst itself. And Jesus is saying, I can give that satisfaction to you, and you're not ever going to get it from anywhere else until the day you die. And you probably won't realize it until you're about to die, that everything I ever did outside of Christ really never really did it for me. Dave.
I'd like to piggyback off what Elizabeth said earlier.
Yeah.
He does tailor this message to the woman, but he also, in doing so, he sidles up to her because at this point, she may be thinking, yeah, I want water that doesn't make me thirsty anymore. I want the parlor trick. I want the thing. I want the magic beans. But Jesus he says to her in one brief sentence, this is what it will cure. You're asking for the remedy, but I'm going to tell you what it will remedy. Your constant coming up short, your constant, your aloneness, the fact that, I'm going to say it 20th second, can't keep a man. I'm curing you of all that. This, if you let it, will cure you of that. It will quench those thirsts that are keeping you up at night. That nothing you do gets rid of it. You go from one thing or one person to another. You go this, there. This is the thing.
Yeah, great point. And then there's that other scripture in Matthew that says, if you seek first the kingdom, then you'll get all the other stuff too. But if you think the kingdom is in all the stuff, you'll get nothing.
Yeah.
Who says that? Jacob, movie reference. You get nothing. What is that from? Willy Wonka.
Oh, yeah, Willy Wonka.
That's what I'm thinking of. You'll get nothing. All right. Why is it so hard to recognize our soul thirst for what it is? Why is it so hard to recognize what our soul really needs for what it is? Why is it so hard? And why, even when we know the truth, we still get distracted? If I'm not here Sunday, Wednesday, and I'm in the scripture at home and praying, in a day or two, I'm off track again. So, Elizabeth, what are you going to say?
I think a lot of it is like we live in a very capitalist, I think, what was his name? Constantine was like, remember when he did his Christmas communion? I'm a victim of the capitalism. Anyway, that was so funny. It was this project. I just was thinking about Constantine's thing.
Yeah.
He was talking about how he grew up, he's like, I was a victim of capitalism. just said it really funny.
It was funny.
But that's what I was thinking of. But like he talked about with like Christmas, that like he grew up with like what I just need stuff. So I feel like anything in our society when it's like, oh well, I'm really struggling with like feeling worthy of myself. So it's like, okay, well, get skincare, wear makeup, do your hair, do Botox, do fillers. Like I feel like every insecurity we have, like there's a product that's supposed to fix it. So
I love that you said the insecurities.
yeah.
I think that's a great, great point, that our insecurities fuel our distractions.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you're focused on, well, I don't have soul thirst. I just need this product, or I just need this thing, or a big thing like that woman. Well, I'm not actually like, there's a hole in me, and a man or a woman will fill it. And like,
Yeah.
no, it's not. So yeah, you're distracted.
And even though we can say we live in a capitalist society, this has been a problem since Adam and Eve. But I mean, I'm just bringing it up that we're not an exception, which is awesome. Adam could use that excuse like, well, it's only the two of us. You know, well, of course I'm going to want something more than that. You know, it is funny that there's always this, what was that word we said? This insecurity that we think what's right in front of us will fill. Chrisanne?
Thinking too, like God made us to have easy pleasures. And you know, if you eat the food, you treat yourself, you hook up with somebody, you go shopping, you know, you just click on Amazon. Like those dopamine hits can come so quick and easy.
Yeah.
But what am I actually thirsting for? I have to be patient and I have to have that develop, or it has to be a greater level of maturity of peace inside me. But the dopamine hits are so
Yeah.
even though it leaves you, but they don't fill you, so you need another one, and then you need another one, and you need another one, and so you're still stuck at the end. But I think it's just, you know, we're lazy. You choose your heart, and this is an easy one and not a hard one. Even though Jesus said, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light," you still have to choose it, and you don't get the instant dopamine hit unless you go outside and celebrate His creation or His creation with you.
Which is great because I love nature, creation, and you see people all the time that's a trap too. They go into nature and it's like, oh, this is where it's at, and they start worshiping it. You know what I mean? It's funny that like that's almost there, and then Satan I think will trap you in that too. Like, well, of course you should love nature and it's serene, and then you can also forget about the one who made all that. It's just funny the levels of it. We think the thirst is for some dream goal yet unachieved. And like you said, all these hits, it's almost like, okay, I just didn't quite get the right one then. And it's this perpetual flea hunt. Dave, you need to see something there?
Well, I think, you know, we never so often we don't get to the heart of the matter. We don't.
Yeah.
And Jesus drills down, and that's what the question leads to. What's on your heart? What is your crush? And Jesus kicks it right out from under her and says, if you take this, you don't need it. You can stop looking because you found what it is you were looking for. And it's not in the form of a human being. It's not in the form of a product or anything. It's not chasing something temporary or ephemeral. It's going to stay with you.
Yeah.
With you.
And that's why we need to get people to the scriptures too, because Jesus can do it because he's the source. We better get people to the scriptures to get to the truth, to get to Christ, to read these stories, because we're fallible and we mix our little things up. You just think better relationship with blah will do it. Better job, home, savings, retirement, fitness, season, political party, location. We're always going like, I'm just going to move to California and start fresh. I mean, how many times have you heard that stupid solution? I'm just going to start fresh. But guess who's going with you? The problem. You know what I mean? You're bringing yourself with you to this fresh start, to pollute that area too that you're going to, unless you're going, of course, with the solution himself, Christ. Somebody have something? Scott.
I need to not be a self-righteous law, and that's pretty much what only Christ can do that. If if anybody else were to go up to this woman and say, you got 7 husbands or six
Yeah.
other men, and who the heck?
Who are you to say that?
I would never do that.
Right.
I am no better. And for me to think, and I'm coming to this conclusion, the best thing I can do is introduce somebody to Christ.
Yeah.
Everything else, who am I? I'm a self-righteous slob. I am lazy. I am egotistical. I need this more than anybody. And only Christ can do it. When you think about it, he actually calls her out. And that would be wrong if I were to do it, but Christ can do it because he has the cure.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing thing is he, like that, he can touch you and you're cured.
Yeah. Great point. That's why the few people in life who actually do reach or exceed their dreams, let me read that again. That's why the few people in life who actually do reach or exceed their dreams are shocked to discover that these longed for circumstances, they don't satisfy them. And that can actually enhance the inner emptiness by the presence of all their goals, because they've got it all and it's did nothing for them.
It's important when Jesus talks to people, he doesn't shame them, but he does remind them that they have shame.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, he doesn't call her out and say, hey, what are you doing with 7 husbands? But he doesn't belittle her. He says, hey, I know you're struggling with this. I know you have some shame here. And this is, the way he communicates is awesome.
Yeah.
And like Scott said, the biggest thing for us to do, or I'm going to say me, is to get out of the way.
Everybody has got to live for something, but Jesus is saying that if he is not that thing, then it will fail you. And it's not even a question that whatever that other thing is, it will fail you miserably, and it will ruin you for a while until you go for the next thing. Everybody's got to live for something. We all have to live for something. But Jesus is saying that if he is not that thing, it will fail you. First, though, that thing you're going for, first it's going to enslave you. It's always going to make you a slave of itself, right? If it's the car, the house, the wrong woman, the wrong guy, first you're going to be a slave until you possibly get out of it and then realize it. First it will enslave you. Whatever that thing is, you tell yourself that you have to have it or there is no tomorrow. That means, I'm going to skip a few minutes here, a few of these things. If you do achieve it, it will fail to deliver the fulfillment you accepted. So now let's go back to the woman. So back to the woman at the well. Remember we said that Jesus says, go and get your husband. He kind of interrupts this gospel message. Like she's like, okay, well, give me this water. And he says, well, go and get your husband. Why does he stop it? Why does he distract her? He says, go and get your husband. Jesus isn't changing the subject. He's saying, if you want to understand the nature of the living water that I offer, you need to first understand how you've been seeking it up till now. She was getting it from the guys, and whatever bones they were throwing her to get her day to day. Isn't that a beautiful thing? This is not my thought. This is from a book I was reading, studying this part of the scriptures. He says, go and get your husband. He's not changing the subject. He's saying, if you want to understand the nature of the living water that I was just talking about, you need to first understand how you've been seeking it up until now. And we do too. What have you been going after that's not the living water? And we say this to the non-believer, and we say it to the believer, right? Scott?
Good class. I just thought of something. He's there to give her water. That's the reason he's there. He asked her for water, but then he winds up giving her the ultimate water. And to me, the question is more, what is he doing there? Because we can trace what he's doing, but why is he there? That's like a deep, deep well. Because then we get into love. That's why he's there. And I don't understand. I still don't understand the depth of that love. It's mind blowing. And it's just to know that he's there asking her for water, but he's really giving her the water. And he's there because he loves her. That the why is connected with the Spirit, which is like I can understand this much of this ocean of water that
And that's a great point. It's more important for us to somehow realize how much he loves us, because that's what's going to change us. If we can realize how much he adores you, then that'll change us. It's not as much as, we're supposed to love him with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. But boy, if you don't understand how much he loves you first, that's hard to do, you know. So it is neat, Scott, to see Jesus has been planning on this for a millennia, and now's the time to get her.
Why does he love me? You know, like
Yeah.
that's the question. Why me, a sinner? So I'm somebody who's like self-righteous lot.
And he made us, so I get why he wants us, you know. Duke.
I was going to ask, do you think she was born for that purpose? Kind of like.
Great point, Duke.
He asked his parents who sent him, or, you know, it's for that. I don't know if that's a dumb question.
It's a great point.
Because she used her like as the vehicle to go back and talk to her people, and also the people that were with him were seeing an example of him talking to a Samaritan, you know,
Yeah.
spreading the gospel.
Yeah, this scenario just changed a generation.
And we're sitting here tonight discussing it.
At the present time.
Right.
Yeah.
Great point, Duke. Chrisanne, uh-oh. Do you want to stand for this? Seems like it's something bold. Go ahead.
Well, just thinking how, like, bouncing off Duke's comment, like, who in here does not have some crazy part of our testimony? You know, some crazy part of our life where if Jesus came and had an interaction specific to us, that wouldn't be in the Bible, that, you know, we think, oh, you know, how was our story compared to, well, we have our own story.
Yeah.
And I think he could have just as easily picked the shepherd with the sheep that he walked right by on his way to the well. Because that guy had a story too. And it just would have been a different story. And I think it's the reason we have so many different stories.
Yeah.
And why he does such a huge, broad selection of male, female, Jewish, Samaritan, Gentile.
Kids, adults, yeah.
Kids, adults, you know, all of it, because he's trying to say, look, we've got the sins covered. We've got the trauma covered. We've got everything covered here, you know, throughout the whole Bible, it's story after story.
Great point. And a lot of us in this audience, you might think, nobody's been through the disgusting things I've been through. Until you talk to somebody for 10 minutes, one-on-one, like, holy cow, you were in that addiction too? You know, Ed and I were with somebody a while back in on their counseling session for getting over addictions. You know, you would have no idea what we're all into, what we've all been through and what we're going through in the present time. You know, church is a hospital, right? And we're all going through stuff right now. We didn't get cleaned up first, and now we're here tonight. It's current, man. Here, I love this. This is what Jesus is saying. You've been trying to get it through men, this living water, and it's not working, is it? We could say, men could say it for women, but he's saying this to her. Your need for men is eating you alive, he's saying to her. And it will never stop. She wasn't on her way out. This is something that is generational probably with her, guessing. Your need for men is eating you alive, and it will never stop. So the question to us is, how are you getting your living water, right? We all here in this room know the source, and we still go for the puddle. You know, we still go for this pollution when we do know all about the living water. And that's why we're together. We're reminding each other, Bill, why are you going for the puddle? Remember, there's the living water. That's eternal. Cool? All right. Great having you guys here tonight. This is the place to be. I mean, can you imagine if I decided instead, I came right from work, what if I made the ridiculous decision to go home and watch a show? You know, what a waste of my time. So anyway, I love thinking about that because Jesus Christ, who we're talking about, created the church. And one day at the end of time, he says all of us in the church are like a bride, and Jesus is the groom, and we reconnect. It's really beautiful. All right, Elizabeth.
One of our friends, I love her Facebook. We spend so much. And she has I don't know if this is still in her bio, but for a long time, she was like, Jesus is my husband, my father, she just listed, it was 5 things. And found like it was interesting because it was all the people that people gravitate. Well, I need a husband. Well, I need a dad. Well, I need a mom. Well, I need a sister.
Yeah.
She just like listed Jesus is all these things, and everything else is frosting. And I just love that. Like that's her mindset. Is like this is my living water in every way, and in every other way that I'd be trying to get it.
Great point. And how good that is for all the relationships you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to my dad to be my God. I'm not looking for my kids to be my ultimate fulfillment, or my wife. You know, when you take that pressure off that person, then the relationship can actually thrive instead of you worshiping it and causing havoc, right? Great point, Elizabeth. All right, let's go. Let's do a song. Mark's not here, and neither is, oh, I guess I'm here. Yeah.
In the beginning, I think the Spurgeon quote,
Yeah.
that your trials, I think sometimes I confuse trials and sin. Are they different or sometimes the same?
Well, I guess I saw that quote as like, trials meaning my challenges. Like, here are the things I've had to go through, my illness, my surgery. I'll put them in stone. Here's how I have suffered, Duke. And I make these monuments about it. When I'm through that, you know, God got me through it, but I'm still making these monuments. Whereas the blessings, how he got me through it, where I'm at now, the new person I am, this new creation, sometimes I'll build a sandcastle for that, and it goes out with the tide, and I forget about it.
I was thinking when Spurgeon said that
I speak for Spurgeon. That's why I can give the ultimate.
like, I thought he was saying something to the point where I do this a lot, like the things that we're going through, or even like our trials are kind of like our victories, the things we
Right.
can overcome.
That's a good point.
You know, like I joke a lot, like if my back hurts, everyone within a 15-mile radius is going to hear about it because I do so well.
I'm further than 15 miles away, and I hear about it.
Yeah. And then he's saying the things that God gives us are kind of like written delicately in the sand and washed away because we didn't really have much to do with it. We can't really blow the trumpet on that one. And I was, that's how I don't know if that helps, but that's how I took it, not to even.
Well, that's what's great about quotes, and you can take it how you want, like a piece of art. Yeah. However it applies to you, and you can make something of it.
A little more Caravaggio up there would be helpful.
I don't know what that means.
I know you do.
All right. Let's turn to page 567. We'll do a song or two. Hey, Akash.
Dad, you're doing great at your classroom management. You're waiting, you're ignoring, you're moving on.
All right. I have a repertoire of about 6 songs. This is one of 6. Restore My Soul.
What number?
567 in the hardbound book. Oh, maybe. Yeah, well, maybe that's why I even had it in my mind. All right, 567. Restore my spirit, Lord, I need restored. My heart is weary, please help me, dear Lord. I stand in need of more strength from your word. Renew my love, rebuild my faith, oh, restore my soul. Revive the fire, Lord, deep in my soul. Stir my desire to work in your fold. Light in my heart, dear God, your zeal grown cold. Renew my love, rebuild my faith, oh, restore my soul. A little louder this time for our last verse. Renew my courage, Lord, it needs restored. My cup is empty, refill it, dear Lord. Replace all doubts and fear with so bold. Renew my love, rebuild my faith, oh, restore my soul. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, any announcements for tonight?
Is there an update on this pack?
So Pat Conley, my dad and I saw her last night. Vivian and Samana visited her. Becky is visitor. Bill and Sue visited her. Vivian told me she did get the surgery today. She has severe diabetes, kidney issues, bad circulation, so she had to have several toes cut off for that. She was hoping they wouldn't take her whole foot, so she had the toes cut off today, and she's recovering. And then we'll see about how she goes home. I don't know if she'll ever be able to go home. I don't know. Rehab, and then, yeah, so a lot in store. But I'll tell you, please visit her. A huge ministry is visiting folks in the hospital. Bill Quigley is still in rehab. He's doing pretty well, but he'd love a visitor. I brought him chocolate-covered cherries last night, which he said he doesn't like. So I ate the rest.
He wants Oreos.
What
He
else
loves
is
to shut up with Oreos.
What else is like Oreos and anything else?
Oreos.
He said he needs to get checked out soon because he's almost out of Oreos.
Okay.
And then they brought him some Tex-Mex barbecue, Mission Barbecue today. But he's doing well. He's walking better. And what's that?
I love that he had no compunction with telling you that he. That's all.
His filter about 5 years ago, Dave.
Chris Ann.
We need to pray for my neighbor Liv. I was in CVS today, and her mom, Liv is my neighbor. She's about 19, and her mom was at CVS in front of me, and so we ended up talking. And Liv's been in and out of the hospital with sepsis and just having a lot of complications from chemo and from the cancer. And she's just having a really hard time. Kelly's having a hard time. She's gonna have a scan next week, I think Wednesday maybe, to see if the tumors have shrunk at all. And they're dreading it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's she's really in a bad state. So
yeah. Yeah, certainly life-threatening and a mess. And Nelson had an interview today for a nursing position he'd like to get. He did let me know that the interview, turns out it's not for what he would want to do. It's not in like the heart cath lab. So even if they offer it to him, he won't take that. But while he was at the interview, he went and visited like his old stomping ground at the hospital where he used to be in the heart lab. And they like welcomed him with open arms. He put in an application because there's an opening in that old position. So he's hoping maybe to get that instead. Yes, all things work together for good there. Yeah, lots of prayers going up for that. And Darren, would you mind doing the prayer today? You don't have to remember all of it, but if you can catch some of that. Let's see. I want to keep Akash in our prayers for, you doing bunny ears? Gotcha. So we're keeping, I'll get to that in a sec. Thank you, Ed. Akash for his job search. And he does have like a part-time fill-in-the-gap job up in North Jersey. And he, thank God, is working for the church a bit here too. And so we're praying for him to get a good full-time blessing job. We're praying the same for Jennifer. She's in her last semester at Rutgers. And we're praying she gets a really great job too, locally. Both local prayers, whatever the good Lord needs. But so also we're keeping Elson and Juan in our prayers. They just lost their father this week. Can you tell us what happened there? What's going on?
He was sick on Christmas. I think it was a walking pneumonia.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
He was
And
stubborn.
what?
He was stubborn. He just thought he could heal himself.
Yeah, just didn't go to the hospital and all that stuff. Yeah. Do you guys have any other brothers or sisters?
No, just us now.
Okay. Good to have the brothers, man. Good to have you guys here, too. You're in the right place. All right, very good. Anybody else? Akash.
So we are thinking about doing a memorial service for Juan's father on next Wednesday at 7:30.
Okay. So memorial here next Wednesday for your dad. What was his name?
Wilfredo Gonzalez.
One more time.
Wilfredo Gonzalez.
Wilfredo. So next Wednesday after our class at 7:30, whoever wants to stay, we'll hear about him and have a good memorial. All right, great, good. Glad you guys are doing that. Awesome. Anybody else? Oh, keeping Jake in our prayers. Jake, as many of you know, is in line to get a job on a tugboat, and one of them got postponed, but another one kind of opened up that seems like possibly a better situation. All things work together for good. So we're hoping that's going to come through any day, and it's a neat situation.
we're just waiting on the government certification.
Yeah, a lot of certs that you need through the Coast Guard and the Maritime.
Because he can't even apply until he gets that certification. So
Yeah.
that's what we're actually waiting.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have this contact where he's waiting for Jake to get it, and then the guy will run through the application or run through that with him. So we're hoping great things for that. Keep it in our prayers, please. Praying for Bodie, who's back at college, Colin, who's student teaching, Elizabeth, who is student teaching in a pretty difficult situation with a lot of behavioral issues, and she's getting a lot more grit even. Yes, Elizabeth.
A lot of my prayer requests is just like really getting to like, I have 8 boys in my class and like they just have so much trauma, like an unbelievable amount that's happened to them. Like I'm getting so protective of them and love them so much. I try to pray for each of them by name. So just prayers for just my boys because I just feel like they need someone to come in and just give them hugs.
Yeah.
Prayers for peace. For them.
Yeah, you start to give your heart to them, a bit there, yeah, which they need, yeah. Dave.
I had a friend at work, a young man. He was a victim of gun violence in Kensington, Philadelphia, and found out what actually happened to him today, and it really was like a punch in the stomach. And I didn't know him all that well, but we had a special handshake with a lot of the kids, and he was just a great guy. He liked the Cowboys, and I would tease him. I think one of the last things I said to him was like, "Hey, who's your team playing this Sunday?" "Oh, that's right. They're not playing this Sunday." We kind of joked, and he's like, "Mr. Dave, you're the only one I'll let get away with that." And just a beautiful man, and cut down in the prime of his life over something stupid, something meaningless. And now he's got a son that's not going to have a father. It's really tough, and I think a lot of people are struggling. So I'd like to pray for his people, and I'd like to pray that I can be a voice of, hey, here's where you can take that pain, here's where you can, get some healing when they talk to me. Because a lot of people know that I'm always talking about Jesus, and whether they care or not. But I just pray that, maybe some of these young people who are looking for a moment of comfort, that I can step out of the way and let Jesus do the talking. And really, that's it. Oh, and his name was Rodney Moore, and just a tragedy.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like spending a lot of time on prayer requests because it is a time where we kind of get to know what's going on in each other's lives too, Ella's going on a trip on Tuesday to go down south where she's from, and she'll be visiting with some pretty sick relatives, cancers, and the ones she's been praying for. So we pray a great blessing on that trip. It's like 3 weeks you'll be down there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, good. We'll miss you.
Back on the 27th.
I'll be back on the 27th. Pray that I have the strength and the courage to minister to them.
Yeah. Elizabeth was saying, will that be with Kennedy?
Yes, with Kennedy.
Yeah, Alberto, who's a missionary we help support a little bit in Panama, he needs help and financially, and he's a real warrior down there as far as a minister. And so keep him in our prayers that he gets enough funding down there and from up here, and that his ministry is blessed. Great point. Anybody else? Yes, Sue, you broke 1 toe or 2? Your big toe. That's horrible, man.
All I was doing was, Bill was working, so I was going to let the dog search for him.
Bill should have been there. Come on, Bill.
So I went to get the dog, and I slid on water, my sneaker, and I'm tired. Oh.
That's horrible. That stinks.
I got up and broke my toe, but compared to what I got to everybody else had, my toe was miserable.
Hey, I hear you though, still, man.
It was a lot of pain, and I went to see Pat that Friday, and I didn't think I was going to get back out of there, and I thought, this is crazy, I'm here, and I'm in so much pain. So then I went to urgent care the next day, and they like had to draw blood from my toe, it was swollen.
Ew.
But I'm doing much better, they did great.
Good, good. All right, we'll pray for the church too. Mark's away on kind of a sabbatical for the week. He goes away once a year and just has a time of study and alone. He's at a place in down the shore that Bob English actually lets him use for the week. He has a house down the shore. All right, let's close up in prayer if you don't mind there, Darren.
Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for bringing us here this evening. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to study your word. We pray that you be with Pat and Chris Ann's neighbor as they're going through medical issues. Pray that you heal them. Lord, we pray that you be with Jacob, Nelson, and Akash, and Jennifer, and all looking for jobs. We pray that they get something locally and that is fulfilling. Lord, we pray that you be with Wilfredo and Rodney's family. They're all mourning their losses. That we pray that you're there with them and help them through this tough time, Lord. Lord God, we thank you that we have you to look forward to. That we all get to live with you through eternity. Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Oh, Friday, too, for the ladies. You know how we're having the month of prayer and fasting? Friday, Nawana's invited any woman that wants to come over to her house to do the last day of the month to finish up the month in prayer can go over to her house. So that's kind of cool. 6 o'clock at Nawana's house on Friday. All right, good, good. I think that's about it.